Hello everyone and welcome. Well, today I got the sled all packed up. I changed the tow rope for a much longer rope, make it a little easier to pull. And I'm gonna head out to that spot where I had lunch in my last video. And we're here for an overnighter. So let's get down the trail and start setting up. So here we are. This is going to be our spot for the night. We've made it to that same area where I had lunch in the last video. When I shoveled out this little area to sit and cook my lunch, it was quite a bit of work because the shovel was so small. I happened to be at my local Canadian Tire the other day and I spotted this. It's a little bit bigger. So we'll see if that helps me dig it out a little faster. Now, I'm gonna coil up this rope so that it doesn't get all tangled while we're here. Before I go too far, I need to set up the Ohuhu stove that I brought. And I brought more wood pellets. Because when I make lunch, I can't have a high flame. So I need it to burn down. So while I go start shoveling, I'm going to light this. I brought one of the Dollarama blocks that I used in the last video. And since I've got a lot to do today, I'm going to use my little peanut lighter, see if it still works. And there we go. Last time when I set the tent, I tamped everything down with my snowshoes and I set up the tent and I spent the night. But if you'll remember, the stove started to melt the snow underneath and it got a little rocky. So this time, I'm going to shovel out an area down to the ground and then set the tent. So what I've done is, I'm 6 feet tall. This is pretty much 6 feet. And I know that the footprint of that tent is about 10 feet. So I've just put a hole here. So I know if I go 6 feet that way, Now I know how far I have to dig out. If I go just a bit past those marks, it should give me plenty of room for the tent. So now let's get to work. So I'm not done shoveling yet. But I need to stop for a minute because I'm starting to sweat. The quickest way to get cold is to sweat. Wow. It's a lot of work shoveling that snow. The stove is still burning too hot to be able to make lunch, but I can still make some tea. Set that to boil. So I'm going to take a little break, try and cool down a little bit, then I'll go shovel some more. The stove is finally burnt down. It's producing heat, but there's no flames shooting out the top anymore because I don't want to burn my lunch. I'm almost done with the shoveling. I'm hoping I can get that tent up soon so that I can set up my gear inside. Wasn't supposed to snow today, but since I got here, it's been just a light snow. So if I can get the tent up and most of my gear inside and protected, all the better. That's why I haven't set up the chair. I don't want it to get all full of snow while I'm working so that when I go to sit in it, it's all wet. So who's curious as to what's for lunch? My sister made some cabbage rolls and sent me a few to try. I put them in this foil container and figured I'd have them for lunch out here. I don't know if you can see that light snow or not, but it hasn't stopped. Oh yeah. Those look beautiful. Set the rest of the tea up there so that it can get warm. Mm. Mm. Delicious. Okay, there's been a slight change of plans. I started digging back there to set up the tent there, but in this corner here, there's a big hump. So I came this way because it seemed flatter, and it looks like it's going to work out perfect. Now, I may have shoveled a little bit too big around, but I did that on purpose, just to make it a little easier for me to get around the tent and stake everything in. Once the tent is staked in and up, when I put out the guy lines, if I have to shovel a bit more, I will, just to set up the guy lines to hold the tent taut. Now, let me go get the tent, and we'll see about starting to set this up. All right. I'm gonna have to take off these gloves. Okay, so that's the inner. I'll leave that in there for now, so it doesn't get covered in snow. Now, the last time I was out, because the ground is frozen, and those stakes that come with the tent are not exactly the greatest, so a lot of them got bent. So what I did is I went to my local hardware store and I got some good spikes and a bag of washers that I put in a Ziploc bag. So now what I can do, put the washer through and use the spike to stake the tent down. And when I tie around the spike, the washer is going to stop the line from coming off. Let's see if this works. My bed set up same way as last time. I've got the foam mat with the foil on top, my heavy sleeping bag over that, my smaller sleeping bag inside the heavy bag. For now, I've tossed in here everything that I really need to stay dry. I've got the Apollo air mattress again, the Gear Doctors. I'm going to blow this up before I go to bed and stuff it underneath the small sleeping bag inside the heavy sleeping bag. Now all that's left to do is set up the stove and go and get some firewood. Not sure if you can see that behind me, but it's snowing pretty good. They weren't calling for a whole lot of snow, maybe 1 or 2 centimeters, that's it. So hopefully it doesn't last. But like I said, it's been a little bit here and there all day, but it's starting to pick up a bit now. I should be fine. Now, last time I was here for lunch, I had mentioned that before I left, I was going to look around to see if I could find some dead standing for firewood. I did manage to find some. So what I did is I had the time, I cut a whole bunch of it into ready logs for the wood stove inside. And I cut down a couple of dead standing and I left them standing in the woods. So I'm going to grab my sleigh and go get that wood. I also brought my forager's pouch. I popped the snap and this is a whole bag that drops out. I made it quite a while back and I keep forgetting to bring it out. Finally remembered to bring it because this area, it's mostly spruce and pine. There's not a lot of birch. There are the odd one here and there. So I'm going to take a walk and go and fill that up with birch bark so that I've got bark on hand if I need it. Very few birch. Came across, there's one back there. And then there's two small ones over here that the bark is falling off. So I'm gathering a little bit from here. But I don't want to take it all from one spot. That way, if I ever come back in this area, I'll know that there's some here. Now I'm going to go grab some off another tree over there. So here's all that wood that I had already cut to length. Now I'm going to split it down and stick it inside the tent as quick as I can. And then I'm going to go I got a few logs leaned up that I'm going to use to cut down for the firewood for the fire tonight. My pouch is pretty much full of birch bark. I'm going to take this off and leave it inside the tent so it stays nice and dry. And then I'm going to get at cutting this firewood. But let me tell you, this is starting to turn into an expensive trip. I've been using these mics on my shirt for almost a year now. And when I was walking in today, one of them finally fell off. I've never had one fall off. Those grips are actually quite tight. But I didn't notice it until I got here. So I backtracked and I looked everywhere, couldn't find it. Now I just went out and I went to gather some birch bark and I went to get the wood. And somehow, somewhere, when I was gathering the birch bark, the other mic gone. So I'm down to the last one. Let's hope the battery in this mic lasts long enough. I'm going to try and use it sparingly. And we'll see what happens. I set up a quick little tarp. I didn't even use any cordage. Just a couple of branches through the eyes and good enough. Now I'm going to give this just a couple of strikes with the ferro rod. If it lights, it lights. If it doesn't, I'll use the lighter. Apparently, if I threaten it, it works. I've got a little bit of wood cut for outside. And I got a whole bunch in the tent, enough in the tent for the night. This snow has not let up all day. It slows right down to bare minimum. And then just when you think it's about to stop, it picks up again. Oh well, it'll still make for a great night. Setting up went well. I'm glad I had pre-cut some firewood. It's a shame I lost 2 microphones today. Can't believe that. Oh well. That's just the way it happens sometimes. Still waiting for the fire to burn down. But I had a late lunch, so I'm in no rush for supper. It's only 5:30. But it's getting pretty dark. Can't do too much more around here, cutting wood or anything, so time for a Hop City barking squirrel. Pretty soon I'm going to have to go light the fire in the tent, just so that I can get it done before it gets too dark. There's an owl back in the bush back there somewhere. I can hear him every now and again. But can't seem to see him. The snow that I dug out of this hole, now that I've got my fire in the corner there, the snow is acting as a nice fire reflector and pushing some heat back this way. Nice and cozy. Look at all the snow building up on the tent. Soon I'm gonna knock all that off, go inside and light the fire. Hopefully that'll keep it from building up on there. There we go. I was forgetting all about that dual recording mode. Now we're both under the tarp. Oh. But even with all this snow today, it's not a big accumulation. It's just, it doesn't stop. But so far I've been able to stay relatively dry and relatively warm. It hasn't been super cold today, so. And again, when I'm working, when I'm moving around, it's hard to get cold when you're moving. Now that I'm sitting down, it's cooling down a little bit. But now I've got the heat from the fire, so it's not too bad. I think I'm going to do what I did last time. Once that fire burns down a little bit more, I'm going to knock it down, get some coals at the front so that I can start cooking, and push the fire to the back a little bit so that I can keep some heat going. Okay, same deal as last time. I'm gonna grab some birch bark and just stuff it in there. Now, when I gathered this birch bark, there was a lot of very fine stuff. I've already got a couple of logs in here. So I'm gonna give it 3 strikes with the ferro rod. If it lights, it lights. If it doesn't, I'll pull out my lighter. So apparently that's the trick. Scare your ferro rod, and it'll work. See if I can't squeeze in one more piece. And that way, it should burn for a good long while. Now I've got the front damper and the back damper wide open. And I'm going to leave it like that for a little while, just so that it'll really get going. The fire has done me the favor of pretty much falling over on its own. So I'm going to set my grill over at this end. And like I said, I'm going to add some wood at the back. So that'll keep burning. And then I can pull in some coals if I need to. And here's where we start dinner. I've got a foil packet here with mushrooms, onions, and finely chopped potatoes. And so we'll get that going over the coals. Try and keep the flames a little further back. So this feels kind of soft. It feels like it's just about done. I'm going to move that off to the side a little bit. Add a little bit of wood to the back. Keep the fire going. And now we're going to add a nice steak. Now, I pre-seasoned this with a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of garlic powder, and a little bit of Montreal steak spice. It's been marinating in there since yesterday. I covered it. I put it in the bag. I threw it in the freezer. I froze it so that today it could thaw slowly and I know it would still be good. So this is going to be delicious. So while I'm sitting here waiting for dinner, I've got this little speaker that I put a micro SD card in the back, and I'm able to listen to a little bit of music and just play around and keep myself busy. I've been practicing feather sticks and just farting around with my knife a little. Okay, I have to be very careful eating this steak. It's cooked beautifully. but it's falling apart. Unbelievably tender. Now, let's have a look at what these look like. Oh boy. Mm. Okay, so some of the potatoes are still a bit crunchy, but that's all right. They're nice and warm. Mm. The onions are beautiful. Have a look at that. All right. I'm going to eat this, and we'll see you shortly. I'm just burning off the excess on the grill. Once that's done, it's pretty dark out here, so I think that's going to be the end of filming for this evening. I'm just going to sit back, listen to a bit of music, and watch the fire, and then crawl into bed a little later. Morning, everyone. It was a great night last night. I actually slept in this morning. So I started to take a few things down while I'm got the fire going and I'm warming up my water. I'm going to make my breakfast, make my coffee. But so far, it's turning out to be an eventful trip. Lost a mic on the way in. Lost a mic collecting the birch bark. I blew up my air mattress last night. And as soon as I got the pad full, when I took the pump sack off, the nozzle fell off the pump sack. So now the pump sack's broken and useless. But it's still a great trip. My pad was full. I was able to sleep comfortably. It's all good. Still a great place to be. Nice view this morning. Nice warm fire. I got plenty of firewood because once again I cut way too much for inside the tent. I always bring in more just in case if we hit a really cold night and I need it, I've got it. But it wasn't that bad last night. I was warm all night long. I slept with my sleeping bag wide open most of the night. I was in the bag, but I had my arms on the outside of it. Now we're doing something a little different. Usually I bring my little kettle or another pot so that I can boil my water and make my coffee in the morning. I didn't bring an extra pot this time. Cowboy coffee it is. Pour a generous amount of coffee in there because I like my coffee strong. Set it back close to the fire. Oh, and then we'll wait for that to be ready. Okay. Now, I pour just a little bit of cold water in there. Apparently, it'll push all the coffee grinds to the bottom. Whether it works or not, I have no idea. But I always have my filter in the kit with my coffee, so I could always just filter it through here. Yeah, there's barely any grinds in there. Perfect. Set that aside. Put the lid back on. Keep that a little closer to the fire, not too close, just so it'll stay warm. Oh. Oh, that's hot. Oh, good, but hot. I'm gonna finish my breakfast, finish my cup of coffee. Yeah, still hot. And then I'm gonna start packing up and getting ready to head out of here. I really appreciate you guys coming along. It's been a fantastic trip. And I want to thank you for everything you do. The views, the like button, everything. It all helps. Comments are great. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and hit the like button. If you want to see more of it, hit the subscribe button. And if you're going to do that, you may as well hit the notification bell. It'll let you know whenever we put out a new video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.